What's up, everybody? Alex here from Alto Music. We got another very special guest at NAMM. I'm here with Duncan from Armoured Saint. It's great to have you here, man. You just did a phenomenal tour with Queensryche, and how was that tour? Just tell us anything.
Well, first of all, it's great to be here.
Yeah.
Queensryche tour was great. The shows, a lot of people came out to the gigs. Queensryche guys are just really great people. And we just had a blast with it. I mean, like I said, the shows were all great, and it was just all around a good time. It was a little bit of a hectic schedule, but hey, what a great job. You know what I mean?
It was a hectic show too. I mean, you could barely move in the Irving Plaza. Your latest album is Win Hands Down, I believe. And how's the record cycle been? You went on any other tours other than that Queensryche show? Or?
Well, we did some stuff back in 2015. We were out with Saxon. Oh, wow. We did some shows with them. We did some shows with Metal Church. We did some European stuff. We went to Japan and played the Loud Park Festival. What was that? Like late 2016, we did that. We've just been really, really busy, and we're getting ready. Next month, actually, we're releasing our live album, Carpe Noctem.
Oh, that's awesome.
Which is from some shows we did in Germany, one at the Wacken Festival, some songs from the Wacken Festival, and some songs from a show we did in Schaffenburg, Germany. So that comes out next month. So 8-song live album.
I heard those European festivals are absolutely crazy, like Grass Pop, Wacken, Hellfest, all that stuff. I heard they're just absolutely crazy. Do you concur? Is Europe just like totally crazy with metal?
Yeah, Europe is great. I mean, the loyalty for rock and roll and heavy metal and all that is really something else. And it's amazing because they have so many festivals, and I've played many festivals out there, and I've never seen a fight happen, which is really strange. You'd think that you would see it at least once, but everybody's pretty united around heavy metal and rock and roll, and it's a really, really cool just sort of allegiance and unity at those festivals that the people, the fans have, and it's really great. Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, it really is. I've been meaning to get out there. We're gonna try to hit up a couple European festivals down the line and stuff like that.
You gotta do it at least once.
Yeah, you have to. You have to. You heard that? We got to get out there at least once. So, you guys have been around for a long time. Armoured Saint I consider to be like one of, you guys were around when thrash became a real thing. You guys were there with Metallica and Slayer and Megadeth and Anthrax and stuff like that. So have you always been associated with thrash? Do people put you along with the West Coast thrash movement and stuff like that?
I came into Armoured Saint in 1988. So by the time I came in, that had sort of waned a little bit. But it was still there. And in festivals or there's certain gigs we've done where, we've been put with bands that maybe we didn't feel we fit with, but Armoured Saint's a very, powerful sounding band. So I think it doesn't really matter if you're doing classic heavy metal or thrash or death metal or whatever the heck's going on, whatever category you want to use. I think really that just, heavy music is about what kind of power and authority you're putting out on stage. And of course, Armoured Saint is, I think, a more of a classic heavy metal band, but, we've always had a very, it could fall apart any second sort of sound,
Yeah.
So I think that's why it always was kind of in that category, because it's very bombastic music.
Exactly. Now, like I said, you got Armoured Saint's been around for a while and stuff like that, and all these other bands. So I've always wanted to ask. A lot of newer bands came out, past 1980, started in 2000 with, newer metal bands like Korn or Lamb of God and stuff like that. And they, in interviews, they'd always say they would look up to Metallica, and I've heard many bands say they look up to Armoured Saint and stuff like that. Have these newer bands ever influenced Armoured Saint at all?
I'm gonna say no. I mean, because Armoured Saint's just always done what Armoured Saint has done, So I think if we were to be influenced by any of that, it would show, and then it would kind of come across as that we'd be trying to hop onto a trend or adapt to something that's going on, in metal. So I think Armoured Saint's evolution has kind of been more of an inside thing and more from a creative place than being influenced by anything new. I mean, the roots of Armoured Saint have always been kind of in classic rock and roll, classic bands, like Thin Lizzy or even Motown grooves and and early Priest records. It's always been kind of the same thing, and then maybe a little bit of prog came in there to some extent in a little way later on. So no, me personally speaking, I would probably say no. We weren't influenced by any newer bands.
Okay.
So but that's okay. I mean, if we've been around longer, we should be doing the influencing.
Yeah, exactly, and believe me, you are. I mean, I've seen so many bands. Like, there's this band called Sabaton who takes inspiration from you guys, and like, because you guys have thrash metal, but you also have power metal. Like, you guys are just pure. Like, I just want to fight a war listening to you guys. You guys have such great sound of thrash and a lot of different elements into it, and I think that's a real inspiration. It's like, why change something when you guys have been inspiring so many other new bands, right?
Yeah, if it works, don't fix it. But it's always, you always want to keep it interesting musically, and I think we try to do that for ourselves mainly, is just to keep it interesting. And like our album La Raza was a very experimental record, and I think it's a really cool record. And some fans said this and that and whatever about it, and I've met people who love it too. But that's where the band was at the time, and that was the stepping stone we needed to take to make Win Hands Down. And the last studio album we did before that was Revelation, which was probably 10 years before then. So it's been a very interesting journey with Armored Saint. But we always try to keep it interesting, and we don't want to make. I don't think Armored Saint's a band that ever wanted to make March of the Saint #2 or Symbol of Salvation #2 or, really repeat the same thing. Keep the sound of the band, but keep it interesting.
Exactly. And I think with your style, there's so much room for experimentation, and also maintaining your sound, which...
Well, there's a lot you can do when you have a great singer.
Exactly. And just one final question, because we're with Alto Music, we deal in a lot of gear and stuff like that. So I just would like to ask you, what gear do you use in order to specialize in your sound?
Well, I use ESP guitars. I've been with ESP for about 15 years, and nothing really. They're just awesome. And I use the PV heads, the 6505s and pluses. I use those, and all my stomp boxes is pretty much Joyo. So it's pretty simple stuff. I mean, my pedal board is, consists of like a few delays and a flanger and a chorus box and a phaser. Yeah. I don't really use a whole lot of effects. I like to keep it pretty simple, and just I'm a big believer that your sound comes from your fingers, and the guitar, through the chord, out the speaker. That's really what you're dealing with. So it really starts with your hands and what your taste is in tone, really. So I've never been one to analyze that too much, you know what I mean? But the gear I'm using, I mean, as far as the ESP and the guitars and the PV amps, that is just a magical sound that I don't think is really going to change.
Yeah. Very simple setup, and it makes a phenomenal sound. Like I said,
big fat and loud and nasty.
Yep. I saw you guys with Queensryche, and it was very easy to tell you guys were doing something right, because you just moved the audience and it all went so well. So that is great job on that performance.
Well, I'm glad you enjoyed the show, and that was a great night. That was a real great night.
And a cold one too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I just want to thank you so much for being here. It's a real pleasure.
Great to be here.
Everybody, this is Alex from Alto Music, Jeff Duncan from Armored Saint here at NAMM 2017. We will see you next time.